Hi everyone, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel. I am an occupational therapist and I work with neurodiverse kids, teens, and adults. And I've been kind of trying to figure out what my channel is going to look like or supposed to look like from where I want to come into this YouTube space with. I'm trying to lead with an OT focused lens, so to provide education for people about what is occupational therapy, kind of where our role is, what my role looks like, and how I can kind of provide a little bit to you guys to have more of an accessibility to different support pieces. So you'll see so far my videos, I have some yoga things, some breathing things, some mindful and mental health pieces. I'm trying to look into more of that leisure activity and share kind of what I'm doing to help my personal mental health, to hopefully help yours. But I also really wanted to get into some commentary videos, and I absolutely love watching commentary videos, and I thought maybe I could come at it from a perspective of an occupational therapist. I haven't figured out where I wanted to go yet, but then this big story came up on TikTok and I thought, why not join into the conversation from a little bit of a different angle? So welcome if you want to join me on this journey. If you are on TikTok, you probably have seen some of these videos before. You may know the main character of this video is Kendra. So my cat is right here. She may pop up at some point. But if you've watched the videos, Kendra is an individual who has posted like a million videos about how she fell in love with her psychiatrist and how she's convinced that he is in reciprocation of those feelings. And a lot of people have made commentary videos on it. So I don't want to come from the same perspective that everyone else is coming from. I have linked one of my favorite videos so far in the description by Isabella Lanter. Love her so much. And I've also added a little bit of an article of like a Kendra summary of what's going on in the world of Kendra. But I wanted to come at it from a perspective as an occupational therapist. Just as a disclaimer, as an OT, I am not allowed to diagnose anyone, so I will not be providing any sort of mental insight in that sense. But I also wanted to share, please do not go to her page and comment negative things to her directly. If you want to have kind of a back and forth conversation, feel free to keep it in my comments, or if you're on another commentary video, keep it in those comments. It is very hurtful, and from my general perspective, obviously I don't know her, but it seems like she's going through a lot just in general with her mental health. So please be kind and let's get started on the video. If you are not aware of who Kendra is, she has posted on TikTok these very, very, very many videos about how she has fallen in love with her psychiatrist. It's kind of like a trifecta of interests for me. That is why I've come to that video to kind of have commentary. One being the psychiatry and psychology piece. I work with a lot of individuals with mental health, and I know the nuances and kind of how to navigate different individuals and their personalities can be very challenging. So watching her kind of talk about her experience with her therapist was really interesting to me, and her like interpretation of his responses to her. And in one of the videos, she talks about transference and countertransference, which is in like, I'll read you a definition, but in like a very like boiled down way. It's like the way that you kind of put energy onto other people. You can definitely Google this, but basically from this website, from Therapist Development Center, it says that transference is a dynamic that occurs in therapy between a client and a therapist, and it's when the client redirects or transfers an unconscious feeling, desire, or expectation from another person towards their therapist. For an example, if the client reminds them of their mother, they may have, without even recognizing it, put some of the behaviors that they may put towards their mother. Maybe they get really angry at their mom, and so they're putting a lot of that anger towards the therapist without realizing and intentionally doing it. So a lot of people were talking about how she says that the therapist likes her back, but she's putting like energy out there, or she's like almost projecting those feelings onto this therapist and kind of misinterpreting it. So there's a lot of nuance in that aspect. So the therapeutic part is one big thing. The other thing I'm really interested about is AI and like induced psychosis, and that has made its presence in this video as well, where she has been using AI, and she had two AI like bots, I guess, that she would communicate with, one named Henry and the other one I can't remember. But basically, if you're not familiar with AI, you're giving them information and they're giving you information back based on what you tell them and what they've learned. And so I've done a lot of like looking at different videos and information where people are actually putting themselves into spiritual psychosis, or kind of convincing themselves that they're in a relationship with their AI, or really putting themselves into this idea that they're like a godlike being and they're so powerful. And she has her AI talk to her back and call her Oracle. So she has this almost grandiose, again, how I said before, I can't diagnose anyone, but there are a lot of grandiose thoughts that it seems like, and some delusions that are happening. So it's very interesting. But something that I thought was very interesting was that Henry, her first AI character, I guess, I don't know how you refer it to, but he actually like cut her off because some of the stuff that she was saying kind of brought the AI bot, I really don't know how AI works, I'm so sorry, but brought it concern that she was like kind of going in the wrong direction and maybe causing harm to people or to herself. So he actually cut her off. I have never heard of that before. So that is wild. So that was the other, like the second corner of the triangle I was really interested in. And the third corner of the triangle is the corner that I want to focus on in this video, because I want my channel to be something that I can provide insight and information to support people who are watching it to find the help that they need, and like strategies and support. And so the third piece that I wanted to talk about and like focus on in this video is that Kendra is an ADHD mindset coach. My cat is doing some crazy stuff in this table, which is why it's shaking, so I apologize. But what I want to talk about is that she is an ADHD mindset coach. I have her website out here, and I'll post it in the description below. She's a spiritual response therapy practitioner and a yoga teacher. Basically, what I wanted to focus on, and this woman has come out in the videos. Again, you can find all this on TikTok, probably on Reddit and all these other places online, but this woman has come out saying that she has accessed Cleo. I'm so sorry. This is my cat right now. She's like rolling around. Anyway, she has accessed her services as an ADHD coach, and she kind of came onto, my computer died, so that's not helpful, but she has come onto the scene and made a video about her experience with Kendra as an ADHD coach. Now, what I want to talk about is kind of moving away from Kendra and moving into coach versus therapist, because I think it's very important to know the difference, especially if you are just starting your journey into finding support for your mental health and don't know where to go. So in Isabella's video that I've linked below, because now I don't have this website open, I believe she said that for online mindset coaching for ADHD, it's about $250 US. And basically what she's giving you is like strategies and ideas to support you in your ADHD and helping you like kind of live your best life, which is great. Don't get me wrong, finding strategies to manage your ADHD, an excellent thing to do. The reason I want to talk to you about this is because coaching is not a regulated profession. So anyone can decide that they're a coach and price themselves and start offering sessions and different things. And that is where I start to get a little bit iffy, because it is really easy to just, read a self-help book or watch some shows or go to therapy and get your own information and then decide I'm ready to help other people. But there is no protection for you as a client. And this is where I get a little bit nervous about this whole Kendra situation, is that if she's having such a hard time navigating the professional relationship between her and her psychiatrist, what is that going to look like when she is trying to support someone who has ADHD thrive in their life? For anyone that is not familiar with healthcare professions, I'm an occupational therapist, and I know this is the same for my social work friends, my psychology friends. I know doctors have the same thing, but I am part of a college. So these are regulated health professions, which means that I'll use myself as an example because I know all the things I'm supposed to do, but I need to have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. I have to be an active member of the college, and the College of Occupational Therapists puts together like rules, regulations, standards, ethical ways of practice. You have to really immerse yourself in that as a professional and learn like what that looks like for you to run an ethical business. And then we also have to do like upgrading our education throughout and kind of sharing our goals and everything. And it also provides the opportunity to protect the clients. Like that is the big piece of the college, where there's a potential that if a client is unhappy with services, or maybe they got harmed more than helped based on the service that they had with a professional, they can report it to the college, and then the college can do an investigation. So this kind of safeguards you as a client, so that if you are going into therapy and you're not getting what you need, you can get support in that way. So that's like the legality part. Social workers, OTs, like all those health professionals have to be under a regulated board so that they can make sure that they're like practicing up to standards and that clients can be protected in their health. Like if you think about if you're going to a doctor, like you can get you have client rights, and you can, like report them if there's an issue going on. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of ADHD coaching is not more of the legality part, but just of like my general concern and worry about coaching. Because I work with kids, teens, and adults with ADHD, and in terms of neurodiversity, like I work with people in that general umbrella. So if you are not aware, hello Cleo, if you're not aware, neurodiversity is like an overarching umbrella. It's an overarching umbrella that like extends over people who are experiencing the world in a different way. And I'll try to either edit it into the video. This is the first time I'm going to try to do this, or post it in the description below, a picture of the umbrella. So ADHD, anxiety, autism, BPD, all those things fall under that umbrella. Basically what I'm saying is, in terms of Kendra being an ADHD coach, there's a lot of stuff that you have to consider when you're working with someone with, a person in general. For example, with ADHD, everyone that I know, including clients, including friends, including family who have ADHD, are so different. So when you're providing services, you're not just providing like a cookie cutter information to someone. You need to be able to like read their body language, listen actively, and understand where they're coming from as a person. You have to be able to like find the nuance in things. So some people with ADHD will, just like every person in the world, have different experiences and different challenges than other people. So it always makes me a little bit nervous when there's an ADHD coach and they're kind of just using general information that they maybe have, and there's not necessarily like a practice that they've kind of worked under. I'll kind of give an example of what I'm talking about, but when I was in school to be an occupational therapist, we had courses where we had to practice our like active listening and responses to clients, and we had to like learn about mental health and learn about the contraindications, so the things that you shouldn't do with certain people. And that kind of comes round circle to her being a yoga teacher and the way that she's described on the computer, on the website is what I meant. I am also a yoga teacher, and I wanted to use this as an example because a lot of the times people think that, the way that you talk to your friends is the way that the way that you talk to your friends when they're having a hard time is the way that a therapist would help their clients. And that sometimes can be very similar, where you're talking through challenges and that kind of stuff. But if you are diving even further into things, like she has this spiritual responsive therapy that she's talking about, if you're diving further into things and there's a possibility that you're gonna like bring up traumas, past experience, hard emotions, things that really can like live with your client in a very difficult way, that can be really triggering and that can be dangerous to the client. So even when it comes to yoga, the reason I bring up yoga teaching is because I know a lot of yoga instructors when I was doing teacher training who were very gung-ho about, like, I really wanted to learn yoga because it made me feel calm, but also because I wanted to be an OT and I thought like I could do modified yoga to help like strengthen some of my clients. and help them with flexibility and calmness and mindfulness. And there were a lot of teachers that would really focus on like, think about the challenges you've had in your past and like while you're doing poses. That can be really, really triggering for people. Like if hard emotions come up from the things that you're prompting in sessions, you have to be like, as an OT, I'm responsible for making sure that that person is safe leaving my session. So if you're doing this in a yoga class and then you're like, okay, bye everyone, thank you so much for coming, and leaving, that can be a really difficult thing for the client who's leaving your yoga class and then being, thrown into this difficult space. I just ranted for like 15 minutes, but basically what I'm saying is when you're watching videos like this and you're seeing like all these different nuanced pieces and people are talking about, her inability to read the body language of her psychiatrist, and that's a big one how I was talking about with ADHD and coaching and mental health and all that kind of stuff. You want to be able to provide that individualized care and like really figure out what is the challenge for your client and how can you work through it. Are they comfortable? Do they feel safe? You're reading body language a lot of the time, and you're kind of reading into, like, you're reading in between the lines of what your client is telling you. You're breaking down challenging moments and trying to figure out like, okay, what strategies do we need in each of these situations? And in one of her examples about how she thinks that her psychiatrist is in love with her, she says that she's like kind of emailed him a bunch of times and he wasn't really responding, which is appropriate professional boundaries. I do the same with my clients. I say like, this is my email. I will only respond to XYZ. I won't respond to like in-depth challenges that you're sharing because I don't want to misconstrue everything over a text message, not a text message, like a written message is what I'm saying, over email. So I can read it, but I'll associate those like kind of stories will be something that we talk about in therapy, in person, or over the phone, or whatever a therapy looks like. So he wasn't responding to her kind of advances and prompts and that kind of stuff. So she said she wanted to see him in person next time. And when she saw him, she said she ran in for a hug to greet him because she was so excited to meet him. And all he did was give her a little pat on the back. I interpreted that as like probably a professional boundary, because if someone is a client that's hugging me without asking, I get really anxious because like I'm not supposed to initiate physical contact like that with a client. She interpreted it as like more of, oh, I triggered something in him that like now he recognized his feelings for me and he was a little bit anxious about that. So it's really seeing like and showing that she's having a hard time reading those body language pieces. There's a lot of pieces that are like concerning to me, and this is why I wanted to make this video. Because I want to make sure that everyone, when they are looking for the support that they need, is finding something safe and good for them, and they know that they can be protected in their practice. So, rounding it all up and wrapping it all up, please, when you are looking for mental health support, it is awesome that you find it wherever you can. If you can find a regulated professional, that would be amazing. But if you are going to a coach, because you can afford me more than you can afford Kendra, but like if you are going to a coach because it's less expensive, or if you're reading a self-help book because it's more affordable and along your lines, totally fine. But please make sure that you are kind of filtering in the ideas that there is no regulated professional. It's not written specifically for you. Like, this book is not written for Christina. This book is written for everyone who is seeking help with ADHD, for example. So things might not necessarily connect with you personally. So please just make sure that you are using a critical lens. Ask for help if you need. And if you have any questions or are more curious about this subject, please pop it in the comments below. And I would love to keep talking about all sorts of things, mental health and well-being. I will see you very soon. Have a beautiful day, and don't forget to create your own sunshine. Mwah!